Hey there, it's me, Colin. I'm, you know me. We've been doing this for a while. I just wanted to get a couple of announcements out of the way before letting you get back to the episode. Firstly, I wanted to give you my sincere thanks. We've gotten just over 2,000 downloads, which is crazy. It is insane. I can't believe it. I am shocked that a lot of those 2,000 downloads are here at the end. I'm happy that so many people have been able to see the whole story. Personally, I think the start was a little rocky, but I'm so happy with how things have turned out. So thank you. I see you, person in Germany. I see you watching those episodes. I'm here for you, waiting at the end. Anyways, second announcement is about our post-mortem. For those of you who have not heard that term, it's basically a time where me and the fine people on this show are all going to get together to answer questions from the viewers and some questions from each other. It's a nice little retrospective we're going to do together. I'd like to give a month of time between this episode coming out on August 21st and the post-mortem going out to give people time to get to the finale and to think of some questions to send in. So, the post-mortem is going to be going up on September 18th, 2024, with us taking questions up to September 15th. If you have any questions, please send them to us by email at calamitycascade@gmail.com, and that email address is down in our description. We'll also be taking comments from YouTube or from our blog, also in the description down below. That is all. Thank you so much for everything. Really, I mean it. And I look forward to answering your questions in a month. On to the show. The destruction of all that you know will be brought about by pacts made with those who lurk amongst the stars. They are unknowable, yet they know us. They need only for us to glance at them to be invited in. Do not stick your hands into their dark waters. Shield your eyes from the light of their stars. Ask yourself at every turn, what is it I seek? What is it that truly calls me? Even now, they whisper in my shut ears. They try to pry open my eyelids. They try to feed me their sweet poison. To defy them is to deny yourself. It is a constant, unending examination and retaliation against your own mind, your own wants. It is a horrible war. It will take your life. It will forsake your friendships, but it will save your soul. We must not weaken. We must not make exception, for if we do, we will fail. And even if we do, it is better to have tried than to have succumbed weakly beneath these cruel stars. Alright, I will keep this summary short. Last time, you went into space. The Clusterists shot a giant tungsten rod at the city, and Geist put on the crown in hopes of stopping it from destroying everything. I have given you each a funny little handout, which details some information about this new situation we're going to be in. It's going to be a little different. So, let's just jump right into it. Slowly, bit by bit, something resembling awareness begins to return to you. Your strange dreams fade away, though they leave little sense now. You grasp for some memory to stabilize you, to make sense of the now and the before, but you find only a haze. You remember a burning sensation, something about a crown, and the heavy duty that comes with it. You open your eyes and look around. You are sitting beneath a great old tree, leaning against its trunk in a warm grassy meadow. Your body is racked with a great weakness. Even standing up seems a chore now. In front of you are 3 figures whom you recognize as your trusted retinue. Firstly is the mystic, clad in flowing blue robes as if wearing water upon his body, beneath a twisted body that one would not recognize as human. Though this has no bearing on his usefulness, you know you can rely on him for all matters of the spirit. The second of your retinue is the assassin. He is cloaked in the deepest black garments and is bristling with all manner of metal weaponry which glints from within his clothes. His face is shaded as ever by a hood, though a single red eye glints from within. Where death and slyness are concerned, he is the master. And lastly, your advisor. A plain-faced man, wearing clothes which are similarly plain, but are no doubt spun from the finest cloth. He is exceptionally knowledgeable, and will prove to be invaluable, especially in this confused state you find yourself in. Behind your retinue, a dark and twisted forest. A narrow, barely beaten path leads inwards, and seeing the gloomy woods in front of you, some part of your new memory returns. You remember that you are the prince. You remember that your line is an old one, following the oldest of traditions, the divine monarchy. Each successor is drawn not from the blood of the parents, but from the blood of the covenant with the higher powers. With the guidance of your mystic, you were selected to be next in line by the forces of the crown. Now, the time draws close for succession. The old king has fled into the woods, maddened and infirm, and with him, your crown. Now you must go inwards to claim this crown, and you can feel its terrible pressure on your mind and body. And history has always shown that a king always returns from these woods, but never a prince. Good morning.
Good morning.
Fuck.
Oh, man.
Hello. Now what?
Can I stand up?
Yes, very shakily and feebly. It's very hard.
What do my arms look like?
What do you want them to look like?
I don't know. I guess just normal arms. I guess I
Where
have
are
flesh
we?
arms.
Right now,
We're outside the woods.
You're outside the dark and cursed
outside.
woods.
of the woods, the mystic will go up to the prince and say, "My prince, Lord, you are finally awake."
Yes, it seems my mind bears a great fog.
How do you feel, my lord?
Weak. Very weak. I think we must go now. I feel the longer I am kept from my crown, the weaker I will grow. We must catch him.
Of course, we must start immediately.
I'm gonna nod to my other 2 companions and try and start walking.
My prince, do you know the way?
Do I know the way?
There's a path ahead of you.
For now, the path. Come, my companions, we have much to do.
Do you call a prince a lord or your grace?
I don't fucking know.
What sounds cooler?
I want to do your grace.
Colin,
Yes.
can I use my grand knowledge to recall if this is the path?
Yes, you may. You may use your grand knowledge to recall if this is the path. This is the path. Things
Okay.
might get more dicey the farther in you go to these cursed woods, but for now, the path will suffice.
The advisor relays this information to the prince.
Excellent work, advisor. We carry on now with confidence in our steps.
Yes. Do I have a weapon? Do I have a stout blade at my side that I can use to feebly struggle?
Yeah, if you want one.
Cool. I do want one. It'll make me feel safe.
What's it look like?
I don't know. It's probably a little longer than. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. No, it's like an S-stock. It's long and slender, a piercing blade with a very fine and ornate hilt.
Okay. You proceed into the forest. The cruel, twisted oaks bend ever inward, leering down upon the faint path which you all follow. On some of the tree's bark, the smeared, bloody handprints of the old king, guiding the way. Quickly, you come upon a landmark, the stout stone hut outside of which stands a wooden shed. A broad-shouldered man with a rusted sword at his side comes out of the shed, holding a shovel and some plant trimmers. He seems surprised to see you four, and he says, my prince, I don't believe it is safe for you to be in these woods.
Yes, but safety is not a luxury I can presently afford.
What brings you here?
The king. I must speak with him.
So, it has come to that already.
Yes.
As no doubt you remember, I fought beside you in our war with the forest people. Surely you do not need the king's accursed crown to rule this kingdom. I would even join your side if you so much as asked. And, Prince, you feel a great weight to his words. Your sluggish mind threatens to turn away from this path and walk out of the forest and seek another way forward.
I give my head a shake, and I look back to my mystic, and I say, no, it cannot possibly come to pass this way. I must have it for the safety of us all.
Your Grace, you must not listen to him. He seeks to draw you from the crown. He's afraid of your power.
Can I use my grand knowledge to see if we can turn back? Is that an option?
Read the top of your character sheet, please.
Yes.
You can read it out loud if you'd like.
The prince must wear the crown, or all will be lost, the advisor says out loud.
It sounds like you're struggling feebly, Prince.
Well, they have to fight this guy?
Yes. Even his words are threatening to turn you away from the path.
Oh my god. So bad news, everybody. Struggling feebly is rolling with 0 dice.
That sucks. Sorry.
Is this
Yeah.
man in this cabin a spirit?
He doesn't appear to be.
So I have to roll no matter what, or can I call on my retinue for aid?
I think the assassin clears his throat and says, would you like me to deal with this man?
You do need to roll.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to roll Hunt on my character sheet because it has no dice. Does position or effect matter?
No, not at all.
Nice, that's a failure.
As the more he speaks, the more he tries to regale you in tales of your shared past, though you don't entirely remember them, the harder and harder it is for you to see the point of any of this. Which will now leave your retinue up to make their decision on how to proceed forward.
Save me.
I'm going to look to the advisor and say, would you like me to deal with this man?
The advisor looks to the prince and not the assassin and says, remember, my prince, of the authority the crown gives you.
Okay. Is that you trying to reason with the prince?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have to roll. You succeed. Prince, with the stout words of your most trusted advisor, you realize that while surely you could fight without the crown, you would not be able to do what you need to do without its power. And you are cemented in place, and the groundskeeper, which is who you're talking to, fails to turn you from the path. And you may proceed, should you choose to.
Thank God. Yeah, let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling on. Let's keep plodding, I guess, because all I can do is plod.
The deeper into the forest you go, the less clear the path becomes. The brush becomes thick and thorny. The trees become tightly packed, with low branches rich with biting insects and screeching birds. As you push forward, you come into a grassy clearing. In the center of it lies a curious effigy wound of wood, topped with a cluster of translucent beeswax. Within lies a spiral of woven grass. A deep tension lies in the air. Here the forest is still and quiet, waiting.
What? The devil?
Hmm.
Sorry, what'd you say was in the center?
An effigy made of wood, beeswax, and a spiral of woven grass.
And there's nobody around?
Not to your eyes.
Do I see anybody here?
No, Mystic, you do not see anybody.
Do I feel anything interesting from this effigy?
It is no doubt an icon of the forest people. That much you and likely the advisor know. Assassin, there is something off about this place.
Can I assess the situation?
Indeed, you can.
Okay, I didn't know.
Around the effigy, you notice the ground is uneven. It's clear someone has dug holes here and covered them up with netting and leaves. No doubt stepping on it would drop you somewhere quite unpleasant. Beyond the clearing's edge, you catch a glimpse of something. A pack of forest people, disguised wearing garb of leaves and woods, causing them to blend into the forest. They are only given away by the bright whites of their eyes. Some wield wooden bows, others thick cudgels, and it seems that they are waiting for someone to spring this trap, and they are unaware that you know that they are there.
I relay this information to my party.
Are the forest people our ancient enemies? That's kind of what I inferred from talking to the groundskeeper.
You don't remember.
Huh.
The advisor recalls.
Go ahead. Why don't you tell the prince?
The advisor sees the prince struggling and begins going, "The forest people have long lived in these woods, terrorizing the kingdom with their heretical knowledge. They have long tried to resist your authority, the authority of the crown."
It is possible they know where the king and the crown have gone. We do not have time to engage in such base and petty warfare. Might we simply path around them, find another way?
Your Grace, I will find us the path to safety. We may shirk around them and perhaps find their camp and overhear their whisperings. Give me a moment.
This sounds wise.
I want to position myself in front of the prince. I want to close my eyes and find the correct path forward with my senses, which I overextend. And if anyone is around me enough to look at my face, I don't know if I'm fully covered or not, but blood starts coming out of my eyes and mouth as I do this.
Oh.
Until I see
the way forward. Yes, you using your extra sensory skills, I'll say, and paying the price of pain and blood, you discover that there is a way around these people, doubling back, and you may be even able to you want to get to their little village?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you can easily follow their path back to their village. And you do so, leaving the ambush behind you. I think their village is very, very difficult to make out, even though you are following the path back to it. Built into the trees such that you would not be able to notice them unless you knew what you were looking for. Even the people who are living here, the ones who aren't warriors, they seem to exist in this sort of like camouflaged living. No one is at ease. They are always concealing themselves, even if they're like feeding their children or tending a fire. It's all very subtle. I think you overhear someone say something that the traitor has gone to confront the king's the prince's party as they head to the king, and he is headed towards the heart of the forest to the east. And, they point in the direction he has gone. And they say something like, I hope that he can dissuade the prince from this path, make him see the foolishness of what he's doing. But, should it come to blows, I hope that the prince will have a slow death.
rude.
Well, thanks, guys.
Okay, we got a lead. That's good.
Do I feel any less feeble as we move towards our goal, or is it about the same?
It's pretty bad. It's still pretty bad.
Ouchie.
Man, I gotta get this crown. I'm
I'm leaking.
having a bad time.
Yeah, like this all feels very much like a dream to you. Like I think maybe the assassin has to like prop you up and help you even walk through these woods.
Oh, it's one of those dreams where you can't move. Fuck.
That's the worst. I feel like at this point he's like the assassin supporting him on the left side, and he has his sword out, but the tip's kind of just like dragging along in the dirt behind him.
You proceed in the way you have decided, and you turn a bend in the trail, and you do see him ahead of you. A tall, armored figure, graying hair, and a tired face betraying a true veteran. Something about him seems familiar to you, with a bitterness rising in your heart, Prince. He already seems to be aware of your group, having cut you off and like emerging from behind a tree right as you turn this bend. And he says nothing. He just waits there.
Sorry, this is the traitor?
This is the traitor.
The traitor. I fucking hate traitors.
You like my wares?
Kill him!
That's what I'm thinking. I feel like the prince looks to the assassin and is like, long has this foul traitor vexed me. Remove him from my sight, lest he attempt to interfere with our most vital errand.
Of course. And I'm gonna assassinate anyone now that I have the order. And assassinate this guy.
What sort of move were you making to assassinate him?
I'm thinking that, like, while they are speaking, maybe, or maybe he, like, tells the advisor, like, keep him talking. And the assassin will just kind of, like, run into a shrub nearby while the mystic takes the place of the assassin and props up the prince. And then maybe I think he just, like, runs behind, does a little pop-up from a bush, and does a quick little knife to the throat. Just a quick little cut.
As you move, and they're being distracted, he says to the prince, I see you cannot be dissuaded from this foolish path. Are you so blind as to believe the crown can truly help anyone? Any benefit you gain from it has a cost tenfold elsewhere.
I would not trust a single poisoned word that falls from your rotted mouth. What do you know of consequence?
He sneers, and he says, the forest people have infiltrated your castle and have taken its inhabitants hostage. If you step 1 foot closer, we shall kill them. And Mystic, this is a lie.
He speaks lies, Your Grace. They all seek to turn you from the crown. They are afraid of your power. Do not let them.
I don't think I will attempt to take a step towards him. I think I will simply sit there and I will sneer back and wait for the hammer to fall.
Sure. He looks at you, and he strikes up a fighting stance and takes a step forward towards you, right as there is a flash of black and a bright red ribbon opens up on his throat. He grabs at it feebly, stumbling forward, and then slowly, but quicker than you'd think, the life leaves his body, and he collapses to the ground with a clink of metal, and he is still.
Ooh, he will not be
Nice.
stepping at all. And then he kind of looks at the party. Until now. Then kind of like gestures to go up the path.
I guess I'll keep on limping.
Further
I'll look
into the...
down at him as we go, sorry.
So, go
What is
ahead.
it? What's the expression on his face as we walk past his dying body?
I mean, he's face down in the dirt.
Okay. I'll leave him there.
I imagine it is an expression of surprise and sadness. Further into the forest, the path disappears entirely. Even the king's bloody trail seems to be missing. You are completely lost, turned around. The forest looks the same in every direction, though with every turn it seems to get tighter, closer, like with enough time, it'll swallow you whole.
This is not working. We must find the way or we will be undone here in these thickets. And he looks pleadingly at his retinue.
The advisor
Go ahead.
looks to the mystic.
Yeah. The path becomes smaller yet again, but I can still find it. And then, again, just get very quiet as more blood starts to just seep slightly from now my ears
No, not this again.
and eyes and other orifices.
Did the last blood go away on its own, or did you have to like wipe it away and leave like dark brown dry blood smears on your face?
Yeah, I'm under this cloak. Am I in
I guess
an
we can't
exopod still?
A what?
I'm just it's like really.
I'm sorry.
big-
What are you talking about?
We're in the past. Am I in
What are you
like a
talking about? Yeah.
weird suit of armor?
You mean the
Question mark?
carriage?
You are in blue robes that look like water.
I am in blue robes that look like water. You just see, like, I guess, blood kind of start to appear in the robes, and it's not going anywhere. I'm just getting more red.
Yeah, maybe it looks like blood and water on your robes.
Yeah, it does.
Very sick. Mystic, as you pay the price yet again, it is clear that the curse of the forest is great here. You must be getting close to the crown. Though the others cannot see it, it is clear to you that though the forest is indeed thick and confusing, it is merely a trick. You are moving closer even if it does not seem like you are.
We simply press on, my grace.
Very well, then.
As you march through the ensorceling forest, you come across a humble grave, a stout stone headstone covered in dried flowers. A simple name adorns it, Amity. Even robbed of your memories, Prince, this one could not be scrubbed from your mind. A woman who you loved deeply, who was killed by one of the forest people's deceitful generals. You were knocked unconscious before you could ever hear her last words, and they have haunted you ever since. The air grows cool, a fell breeze pushes through the trees, and a fog swirls around the grave. And then, as if built from the fog itself, the mist stitches itself together, and a phantasm stands before you. It's her, the memory, the spirit, brought here by your presence. She looks at you sadly and says, "My prince, you should not be in this forest, though it brings me joy to see you."
I was not expecting to see you here. I am on an errand that I believe to be of vital importance, although I cannot precisely remember why.
You are here to claim the crown, no doubt, but I beg you, you must not wear it. Live a free life from its curse, with joy and happiness and mercy. If you do not turn away, I will haunt you until the end of time itself.
I would rather be haunted to an eternity by none other. And I think he's just going to keep walking, if I don't need to roll for it.
You walk into this thick fog, and it deposits you back at the grave. There. And she says, "I will not let you go."
What's Hex's role again?
The advisor?
Advisor.
The advisor?
I turn to the advisor covertly, start to whisper, "Advisor, you must distract our prince. I must do something to avert this situation, lest all be lost."
The advisor gives a silent nod and begins speaking to the prince, regaling him with what he can expect with the power he will be bestowed at the end of this journey. Go do your thing already.
Behind the advisor, I start whispering an incantation to the spirit of this long-lost love. And I say, "You will leave our prince to his task. You will release the field that you have trapped him in, and you will never speak of him again. You will move on. You will never think of him. You will never stop him. You will leave us now."
Very well. She begins to dissipate. The fog kind of pulling back a little bit as like some rays of sunlight come through the trees and evaporate them. As she fades away, and like her last words to you, Prince, they feel nonsensical. There is a horrible crack through your mind as her lips move. It's like you don't even hear her. You just see her lips move. There's like a barbed needle from the ether that has been driven through your skulls from some faraway memory. These words slot themselves into place as her last words to you are cemented. "Don't hate them, Garrett. They don't deserve this. Don't let them die." And as this horrible alien name is spoken to you, you are overcome with pain. you threaten to crumble to the ground, to be rendered comatose once more as these painful surge of memories starts to press heavily on your mind.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God. I hope that means that I'm making the right choice. I guess the prince probably falls to his knees and clutches at his head and probably screams a little bit.
Sounds like you're struggling feebly.
I am. I don't know if there's anything to succeed or fail here. Let's see if I can pull out a partial on this one. No!
Failure. Retinue. The prince collapses to the ground, his body spasming with pain from some unseen force, though the spirit has receded.
Advisor, do we know any ways to heal our king?
Yeah.
Prince.
The advisor recalls what this may be.
His affliction. It's affliction that can only be cured. But the
The
crown.
advisor inspects him.
I think, advisor, as you expect him, being a knowledgeable man, a man of medicine, it is not clear what affliction is afflicting him right now. It must be a matter of the spirit. And I think Mystic, having been called in to assist, you may know a small incantation to ease his pain, but whatever has struck him now is not going to go away. You may be able to limp him the last mile, but the prince you once knew, he's getting worse. He's getting a lot worse now.
Could I call this a curse that has afflicted the prince?
Bro, everything here is a curse, so yeah.
Then the advisor just whispers into the prince's ear, remember that the curse is the power.
I think these words bring you some measure of resolve, Prince. And I think with the mystic maybe giving you a bit of a salve or some small incantation to ease your pain, you're able to get up very shakily, having to lean on your sword and its scabbard like a cane, even with the assassin helping you along. And you are able to proceed forward.
Okay. Let's keep limping on. I am very infirm for a prince.
Before we leave this area, I think the assassin does stare at the grave for just a moment before continuing on. Just a quick little look, and then you probably give him maybe he hears you cough, and then he's like, okay, forward, and keeps moving.
It's nice. I like that. So, the cold mist has receded. That grave, which has been sitting here for so long, seems to have aged centuries in just minutes, has become worn down, illegible, overgrown with thorny red vines. And you press forward. The mystic is able to find another path, though there's nothing clear anymore. You're just marching into the forest towards some point in the distance, going deeper in. You must kind of squeeze between the trees at certain points, and you can feel the crown's influence is strong. In the distance, there is this red glow which is saturating the forest. However, right ahead of you, as you come around one of these trees, is a figure sitting on a stone, cross-legged. She is robed in green. Her face is obscured, but you can feel her attention on all of you. Her presence melds with the forest, as if her gaze alone might twist the trees around you. And she speaks, repeating familiar words, and she says, "The crown's curse is not worth its power, young prince. It will grant you strength, but its curse shall take tenfold. You feel your mind become tangled up like the brambles of the forest, threatening to tie you up to bury you here."
Remember what I told you, the advisor says.
Do I have to roll to struggle against this before my homies help me out?
No, but I do need to help you.
Yes, the prince struggles against the vines that threaten to incapacitate him and drag him down to his knees. He says, "No, I must. I will pay any cost."
Can I control these vines?
You can try to.
I want to again try to extend my powers. I don't know how much blood to water ratio I have got going on right now, but I want to try to compel the vines to
Blood
release
bag.
my prince.
Sure. You push against this presence. It is extremely strong. This ancient being, this prophet. And you feel the branches push away from you, and her presence is kind of receded. She seems more vulnerable now, but yet she still stands there, and you feel her beginning to press back against you. You'll have to do more here to overcome her.
Maybe this would be a good time for another knife in the bed.
Give me the order.
All reliable.
I guess the prince will be like, destroy her now. As he attempts to stay standing up.
The assassin complies.
What does that look like?
Do I have to do this in a stealthy way?
No.
Okay. I think when the prince says that, then this guy, he is doing a toaster jump. This guy is jumping straight into the fucking air like an insect and is just pouncing right down on this thing with a sword going right through the neck.
Awesome. Your black cloak billows behind you, making you almost like you're flying. And you go in the air, you come straight down, beautiful arc. Your blade goes through her neck. You twist it, separating her top half, well, her head from her body, and it falls to the ground. And then after that, you feel Mystic, her presence, stop pushing against you, giving some ground, and then fading away. The trees around here seem to become less animate. They almost kind of move away from you, like the ground is spreading, giving you room to breathe. And she says, "You've doomed us all." And then the air is still, the path is clear, and the crown and the old king are not far now, awaiting you all at the heart of the woods.
I think the prince staggers back to his feet, breath heaving, and says, "Not long now, it is not long now."
You advance easily through the forest. With the prophet dispelled, the path seems to appear with each step you take, guiding you forward. More and more of this red light fills the air, creating a bright and bloody forest which seems to pulse into the rhythm of the prince's heartbeat. At last you arrive at the heart of these dark woods. Here the roots of all of the trees coalesce, plunging into the earth in a bottomless, root-laden hole. Laying besides the hole, peering within, is the old king. The thorny bramble crown atop his head has begun to take root in him, growing into his flesh, thorns erupting from beneath his face, his neck, and his back, great spines which make him appear as some sort of terrible beast. A bed of red flowers surrounds him, and it is not clear if they are growing out of him or into him. He turns to you slowly, his neck rotating to an impossible degree without the rest of his body moving much at all, and he says, "You have overcome the obstacles before you. You have cleared the way to your ascension. Now, all that is left is to free me from this curse. Drink deeply from its power. Forsake yourself. Become Providence itself, and take up this crown as the new king."
I think the prince staggers forward and his sword kind of drops feebly at his side. And I think he's going to... Oh, wait, no, he doesn't crown himself, does he? It's the mystic's got to do it.
No. Yeah, I want to rush forward and then just kneel before the old king, hands outstretched. Not saying anything. It's ritual now.
The old king tries to move, and his arms have become fused with these roots. He's just struggling feebly, and he his bones and maybe it almost sounds like wood cracking too, as he cranes his neck, angling the crown towards you for you to rip it out of him.
I do this. I don't know if there's any way to do it gracefully, but I do it.
Yeah, it comes out of him. These the roots, the thorns, the bramble that had grown into him start to retract, spooling back into the crown, though it doesn't seem to add any new mass. And it is in your hands, and the crown is powerful, and the prince is kneeling before you.
How heavy is it, the crown?
Unfathomably heavy.
My hands are shaking with the excitement and anticipation of this moment. After so long, after so much. Don't even know how much the much has been, but I know it's been much. And then there's this sudden feeling of, wait, what am I doing? This feels wrong. And then just this feeling turns into the worst terror you could possibly imagine. And the intensity of this terror is so great that I need to get rid of it immediately, and the only way to do it is by putting it on the prince's head. So I turn to him and I say, Your Grace, it is finally time. It is finally time. And he moves to put it on his head.
I think as it comes down, the prince's eyes are half closed, and all he says is, I will save them, my love. I will not let them die.
The crown burns as it touches you, taking root in your flesh and mind. Your skin combusts violently. An unfathomable, powerful crash of flame bursts from you, incinerating the old king, incinerating the mystic, the advisor, and the assassin. The leaves and brush turn instantly to ashes. The trees become ashen husks, glowing red and orange. The farther the fire spreads, the more power wells in you, stronger and stronger, taking over your faculties. You see red, you smell blood, you feel only burning, and you taste only ash. And you awake, reeling back from sunlith as the crown cements its place on your head. The changeling's cockpit seals itself up as you are pulled into its chair. Thick, barbed red wires weave around and through you, connecting you directly to the changeling. Your body jolts, blood spraying out of you and onto the walls of the cockpits. Body and machine becomes one. What once was Garrett Hart, Geist, Joker, and the changeling has become transmuted into only one being, into martyrdom, reborn. The path through the forest is clear. You must act quickly. Use your newfound strength to get in front of that projectile and stop it. There's no need to go out the way you came in. You are no longer confined by the limits of physical space.
Oh, fuck. Yes.
Oh no!
He's dancing.
I'm gonna do it. I'm
Let's do
gonna
a Fortnite dance.
What the
He's
fuck?
flossing.
I'm gonna fucking go. I'm gonna get myself in front of that projectile. I'm gonna stop it.
Your speed is incredible. One moment, you're there on the platform. The next second, there is a burning trail of red flame behind you and a hole in the wall. Even with a projectile traveling at 5 times the speed of sound, you effortlessly catch up to it, defying all laws of physics as if you are weaving through the fabric of space itself. It has turned red hot as it has begun pushing through Terra Brea's atmosphere, just ahead of you now. In a moment of clarity, you understand the power given to you. It is power equal to your sacrifice, equal to your curse. You are given only a portion of that power to fulfill your wish, to complete your role as martyrdom. The rest of it will go elsewhere. Payment. You have more than enough to stop this object of crude matter, to shatter it and yourself into nothing but particles, into a memory. There is a brief window here, just moments before the remnants of Garrett Hart is gone, where you have a chance to speak to yourself, to your friends, or perhaps there's nothing to say at all.
I think Geist will say, fuck. I thought I was ready for this, and now I don't know if I am.
I know, it's so much.
I think he'll just say, Dusklights, remember me. And then he's gonna obliterate himself.
You strike out. The burning sensation consumes you entirely. The pain is so extreme that it loops back around into painlessness. You realize that all of the suffering had already been distributed throughout your life, that you've already felt this, that the hurt has already been paid for. Martyrdom and the cluster of tungsten rods in front of you erupt. In the city below, everyone from soldiers mid-firefight to civilians holding their families look up as for a brief moment, the sun seems to vanish. A sudden red eclipse shadows the world. The stars seem to burn, bloody and bright. Just for a moment. There is a horrible peace. A feeling of absolute doom grips the heart of the millions in the city just for a second. There is an incomprehensible understanding of what was so nearly their end. And then, daylight returns to the shaken people of Brea City. Far above, in space, as this red blossom expands in the atmosphere, we return to the dusk lights. Loyal, you stand in front of the partially melted warehouse where just seconds ago you had been placing the crown on Geist's head. You are left with two feelings. A strange but somewhat peaceful emptiness. A presence has moved on, done with haunting your dreams and waking moments. And secondly, there is an unshakable feeling of predestination, one that you now know will never leave you. Some part of you, this illusion of free will, the spark of surprise, it's gone, and with it, whoever you once were. Farther back in the warehouse, Joseph, you have just watched this all unfold, choosing not to look away. Not seconds after Geist is gone, there is a familiar feeling. Contrition. It seems that its plans have changed. The future will be harder now, for your people, but nevertheless you are called to work, and there is still a path forward. There will be a ship waiting for you, 2 days from now, and you will leave Terra Brea forever, never to return. Hex, you are outside, having made a fairly wise decision to get away from all of this. The stars flicker red for a moment, betraying some greater truth, worth understanding. And no doubt your future will lead you to this understanding. Inside of the warehouse, Pierce Sunspire has collapsed to the ground, still trying to process what just happened. Somewhere in the control room of this defense platform, someone has turned it off, the lights flickering and going dark. For those three of you that remain right now, what do you do?
Let's go first.
Look around,
Yeah.
and go just outside of my mech. Go to the edge of this precipice of this melted space station and look down, like praying that there are no longer giant objects of death headed to destroy the planet. Kind of like partially believing that they're still there, like all of this was some terrible, terrible stress dream. But still hoping that maybe it was real, as horrible as it was.
I think Joseph's gonna walk up and stand next to you and kind of look out the hole. But I don't think he's saying much. He's just staring along with you.
Hex is radioing the rest of everyone they came here with. Assessing the situation.
Yes, Spud.
Yeah. I think, like, Spud and his soldiers, they were in there with you, right? I think they're just, like, dumbfounded. I think some of them, like, collapse to their knees and, like, they've seen a little too much. They don't know what's going on. I think Spud just says, "Orders? Orders? Fuck it." You hear his radio turn off. And I guess those of you who are in there, he walks up to Pierce. He pulls out his pistol and he puts a bullet through his head. And then they push forward farther into the facility. And I think you just start hearing gunshots.
Did Nyla see what just happened? Is Nyla talking? I remember this was a thing.
I don't think Nyla's talking anymore. I don't think there's much talking going on at all.
What do we see when we look out at this just exploded thing?
There's
What's
a big
left?
red, like, stain on the atmosphere. It seems to be fading now, but it's there.
I look out and try to sense martyrdom. Where did it go?
It's weird, you know? It's like you're trying to sense, it's like trying to sense one of your body parts that you've become so accustomed to. It's just not there anymore. You think maybe you feel some remnant, just like the smallest little spark in that stain somewhere, but you can't tell.
Of Geist or of martyrdom?
What's the difference?
Oh,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
What's going on with Love Letter and Gallows and Spoils Sport, not Gallows? I think they died.
I think they fucked off. I think honestly they have left somewhere. Maybe they had a ship or something, but they're not here anymore.
All right. Hex radios Nyla that we're taking control of the facility and that Pierce is dead.
I think she radios back and she says, Okay. Yeah. Just wrap up there, and I'll wrap up here.
I want to turn to Joseph, since he's the only one next to me right now, and be like, Did we win? Is it over?
Joseph kind of looks to the ground. I don't even think he's taking in what you said. And he just says, the brother of the woman I killed launched. He doesn't even finish. And he kind of turns back to you and says, Guy's death is on me.
I just look at you and I ask, You killed a woman? I didn't know about this yet.
It was in
Joseph
the
just
news.
nods.
Yeah, that was in the news.
Oh, it
I just
was?
think- yeah, it was
I'm
in
not
the news.
looking at the news.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you could. I guess you could just not watch the news.
I've been in a
Loyal
fugue
doesn't
state.
follow mainstream
Yeah.
media.
I've been in a fugue state and like hanging out with guys. That's it.
Yeah, it would make sense that Loyal wouldn't want to watch the news and see like the reports of
That's
his
true.
rampage because it was
Yeah,
around
that's
the
true.
same time.
Yeah, Joseph probably just says, he just kind of nods and says, a command of contrition. And then he kind of waits for a bit and says, He's spoken to me again. I will be leaving in 2 days.
I don't even think I like have words anymore. I just kind of maybe give the smallest of nods, but don't really interact other than that.
Joseph kind of looks back outside and he says, to answer your question, we didn't win, but it is over.
Oh, I like that line. That's good.
It's good. Okay. Worthy comes and picks you up at some point. All of you. I think Spud walks into Worthy's ship, just covered in blood. His like the knuckles of his spacesuit are just like soaked in it.
I think also Joseph, we don't need to have the scene, but I think he just kind of like asked, like, did you kill the brother? Was that done with? And I'm assuming Spud did.
Spud just like he like rubs some like smeared blood off of the faceplate of his visor of his spacesuit. He says, "Who? They're all dead."
Joseph gives him a wink and keeps walking.
And I think you're taken back to your base. And I honestly, there's not really much to do here. I think. I mean, what are your next moves? I mean, you're leaving, Joseph, obviously.
Yeah, I think I made this clear to Loyal. I probably tell Hex on the way down. I doubt to much protest unless Hex wants to argue with me.
No, Hex understands and says, it's been a pleasure working with you.
Yeah, I think Joseph says, I assume you have things handled after this. Maybe things planned?
I have my own path forward, but you did good work. If you ever need anything, reach out.
As did you. And he probably puts out his hand for a shake.
Yep. Hex returns it.
Ooh. That's good.
What does your next
Yeah, we're
week
going
look
back
like,
down.
everyone? Let's just
Hex,
speed
get
through
in
it.
touch with
Any
Hero.
orders, like directly after
Yeah,
this?
is there
We get on
any-
the ship? Where do we get deposited? What does someone say to us?
Do we
I
talk
mean,
with Nyla? I guess that's the big question.
yeah, I guess
We have a meeting with her.
she doesn't have a meeting with you. I think.
Okay.
I think she. Like I have a big narration and I'll go over
okay,
that.
okay.
But basically, she messages you. She says, "We secured the city. We got everyone. Just go. It's over. You don't need to be here anymore."
Okay.
And I think that's the last you hear from her ever.
Or anymore is just on the planet here, period?
Yeah, just go. What's your next week look like?
Is Nyla
This isn't
mad?
really a week for Joseph, is it? It's just 2 days, right?
It's literally just 2 days. It's been arranged.
I think he's preparing things like he was leaving from the Peacekeeper base. Kind of similar things. I think like he's surprised, but he is leaving stuff behind yet again. Maybe books he wasn't suspecting, just packing up everything. And I think at a moment, even with the boxes taped up, he doesn't bring them with him. He realizes there's no need for him wherever he's going. And he just kind of leaves everything neat and orderly. as he exits the room and probably spends a lot of time staring out into the open, waiting to see if someone will talk with him.
I mean, so we're all at the base?
Yep. Unless you want to be somewhere else.
Assuming Tyrell hasn't sent his onboarding email yet, Hex would approach Joseph.
Oh.
Yeah, and he wants to ask, Joseph, what are you doing after this?
Suppose I'm doing what I was doing before. Trying to keep us alive. And he kind of like leans in. All of us. I want you to know that everything I do, it extends farther beyond the Soul Union and the Peacekeepers, the Clusterists. I think once I get things in order, there will be peace for us all. It's just going to take some time now that things changed. And it seems that in 2 days, I'll be back to work.
Sounds like you found something to fight for.
Yes, and I doubt you will be going back to a desk.
I don't think I can anymore.
I don't think so either. You know, I never really asked you. Did destroying that dam change you? Do you feel different? I know it's ironic coming from a robot, but you don't seem to be the same man that we started out with.
I think you could say the same.
You shut Joseph up. He kind of turns away.
All right, end scene.
There you go.
Hex goes back to packing.
Loyal, what's your week look like?
Just thinking that without any orders, he just goes back to his shitty little apartment with the one fish tank that...
In the city?
In the city. Wait, no, that got blown up. Or wait, what happened in the city?
No, it didn't
There's
get blown up.
there.
Are you allowed there?
Yeah,
The military police are still trying to arrest
that's true.
you.
I can't go back there.
No.
We're at the ice base. Okay, never mind. Cut all that out. Just think about my apartment. It's got to still be there, right? Yeah, what's happening with the base? Is it being dismantled by anyone? Who else is there?
Gopher's here?
Yeah, nobody knows about it except for Bluth.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing's happening to the base, but everyone's leaving. I think everyone's gotten word that, the base was good. It's a good fire base, but there's nothing left to do on Terra Brea. Mercenaries are going to come in, and if you wait here too long, you probably will get discovered, and you don't want to be here because that'd be bad. Gopher's
We're
packing up.
criminals.
Your doctor's packing up. Worthy is offered he will give you rides into orbit if you need to get out, but he's saying, he's hanging it up after this.
Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to sense martyrdom. Like, I feel like part of me hoped that it would still talk to me somehow. I would get some reward for doing this thing. And it's just...
Do you want to make a roll?
Nothing. Yeah. Let me make a really scary roll. Which they all always are. For some reason. What am I rolling?
Survey?
Yeah, I'll push myself. For old
Why
time's
not?
sake.
Actually, you can't push yourself. You can't push yourself anymore.
That's true. I don't think that fits. All right.
Partial success.
There you go.
Not too bad.
You know that you were used. There's nothing for you. There's no reward for you. You were just a doorway. An unfortunate doorway. You just opened to the wrong thing. And something went through that doorway that was too big for it. And now it's like a cave-in. Just, you are ruined. You will never be the same again. You don't think that you will ever be able to have a normal life at all. But, through the rubble of this metaphorical cave-in, it's still out there. Martyrdom is waiting because coming back is what it does. It's what it's always done for a very long time. And you have no doubt, in one way or one form or another, it will be back.
Yeah. I feel like I hang out, I just like loiter for as long as possible before, I don't know, whoever's left
Yeah, I think maybe like
starts telling me, hey, you need to do something.
yeah, I think like we see like a fast forward of just like people leaving. Like Joseph leaves. And like you can have like last words you want to say to Loyal or whatever, any of you.
Yeah.
But like Hex leaves. I mean, like, what are your last words to Loyal, if there are any, both of you?
It's not going to take long. It's X just sends a very generic. It was a pleasure working with you email, and Loyal's CC'd alongside everyone, like all the other kind of side people at the base.
Oh my god, I love this. Especially with the new belief I just wrote about X.
Yes,
You're gonna
this is
enjoy it.
perfect.
Okay. All right. Joseph.
Yeah, I think Joseph's coming probably right before he leaves. And he extends a hand for a shake, and he says, I actually had to teach myself what a dolphin was. To be honest, I thought you were a food source.
Fuck.
Will just looks at him and shakes his hand and is like, I think I need to teach myself what a dolphin is too. Goodbye, Joseph.
How wrong I was. Goodbye, Loyal. Hang in there. And he kind of pats you on your exopod just a little bit.
So sweet.
I think this is a great time. I've told you all to revise your beliefs, get them up to snuff, except for you, Garrett, because you're dead. But I'd like to hear them. You three, the three remaining. What are your beliefs about each other? I guess we could start with. Let's start with
me,
X.
because I brought it first. Oh, wait,
Yeah,
no.
sure. You go ahead.
I brought it up. I have to do them. So, just my new belief about Geist. Let's go over all the first ones. Like the first one was that he doesn't see anyone as people. He just wants to murder. And the second belief was written by Martyrdom. It has changed throughout the sessions. It's like he has to be the one. He has to have the crown. You failed. And now it says in red ink, it is done. And then the belief after that is that he needs to be the one. And then the newest belief is he's the only one who can become Martyrdom. If he does, he will save us all. Beliefs for Hex initially is that he joined the war because he was bored of his work. And then I didn't make a single other belief about him the entire time that I knew him, except for this last one, which says, he is unchangeable. I have neither will nor power to create empathy between me and this man. That's just it. Joseph is that he's newly sapient, but he did it in a time of war, so that it's made him too violent, but he can be saved. And that he's scared of being human, having feelings, and I can help him. And then the new last belief is, I don't trust him. I tried to make him human the way that humans did to me, not knowing that this shouldn't have been done. To either of us, we came out wrong.
Ooh. Good.
Damn.
Hex, your beliefs.
Yeah, for Loyal, actually, let's start with Joseph. For Joseph, the very first belief, and I think this is held true throughout their whole relationship, is it may have human-like traits, but it's a machine with no real emotion or loyalties. I don't know if I could fully trust them. The second one is, while he's a machine and I don't know what his goals are, after everything we've been through, I believe he has the squad's best interests in mind. And I only reworded this a little bit just because of recent events, but I trust him above all other squad mates. Recent events show he knows how to make tough calls, even if I don't know what his broader plans are.
Aw, so sweet.
For Loyal, the first one really didn't change. I'm suspicious of Loyal's willingness to do what it takes to complete a mission. The second, and this was just more funny, but I think it still holds. Given budget constraints, I wonder if having a dolphin as a pilot is efficient. And the last one is, I think Loyal is difficult to work with.
That's great.
And I will be making a complaint.
Just going on your record, young been.
And for Geist, I only have 2 if we're doing Geist. But first was he's a loose cannon. He's very useful, but he needs to be watched so he doesn't do anything stupid. I think that one hasn't changed.
Nope.
And the second and last is he's a great leader, but I fear he'll set himself on fire to save others.
Good
That
predictions.
was almost literally.
I think this is literally what happened.
Joseph.
That's me. So, do we say the ones we originally had?
Yeah, let's go through them.
Because, yeah. I mean, like, originally for Geist, I wrote he plans to die. For Loyal, I thought he was conscripted, like he was placed, not conscripted into the war. And then for Hex, I said boring, average, woefully committed to the cause, the most respectable human I know. That's kind of how I felt at the start. But I wrote my big beliefs right before the final mission, because I was thinking of Joseph's beliefs, like, when everything was going down, when he told us to write them. And I think they would have just been like, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care about these people. It's like over. It doesn't matter. But before we went into that final mission, I wrote for Loyal. He was a little bitter, okay? So that's why he said these things. But for Loyal, he said hypocrite. For all his flowery words and empathetic abilities, he's still thrown me against a wall and tried to manipulate my mind. But then again, for someone so focused on peace, he's become surprisingly ruthless. He impresses me. For Hex, I wrote blowing the dam was an eye-opener. He follows jobs through to the end, and he doesn't seem to carry much guilt for it. If one day someone was ordered to hunt me down, I believe it would be Hex. I would be honored to fight him. And then for Geist, I wrote, I respected him so much, but he feels softer now, tired. He won't admit it, but he's becoming more empathetic too, which is why his concern over me is insulting. At least I know I'm being manipulated. He should worry about himself. And then at the end of all that, I wrote, but these are my personal feelings, and I have no need for them. The facts are this. We are a powerful unit. We work well together, and I'd be glad to die among them. Not with respect to them, but with respect to what we do. We get the job done.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome.
Yes.
And then I guess we see, like we started with, Loyal, just like a fast forward, people leaving.
Yeah.
It's like machines getting torn apart, put away. Just like a lot of people moving very quickly. And I think like we like snap back in to like Worthy walking up to you and saying, last bus out, are you, is someone coming for you?
Where are you going after all of this, Worthy?
I'm going very, very far away from all of this.
Where?
And you gonna follow me?
No, I just want to know if where I want to go is on the way.
Where do you want to go, Loyal?
Don't take me this way yourself if it's too far. I can find a different charter, but it would mean a lot to me if you would just drop me over at the Gulf of Mexico on Earth. Help me out of my exopod and just hover over it and drop me into the ocean.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Come on.
I'm gonna drop
I
you
use a
off.
roll. I compel him.
You could do that. If you want to do that, you can do that.
I do. He does.
Okay.
This
Roll
is
it.
my fucking
This is
moment.
fucked
Where
up.
This way.
Controlled great.
I can't push myself.
No, you cannot put yourself.
Worthy, will I control you to do this stupid thing?
Oh,
Success.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I love it.
2, 6. What does that look like?
As I'm asking this, kind of just like infuse some psychic push behind my words. I'm like, I'm doing the voice thing, a la Dune. Just say it in a funny voice, and I'm just really putting my intent into it, making him feel like he wants to do this. He really wants this too. All of my desire in it is now his.
Okay. 1 sec. I need to make a note.
Worthy dies in a freak explosion accident when he takes me to Earth. Goodbye.
Womp womp.
I'll miss you, Worthy.
It might be a completely routine interdiction of a known fugitive ship flying right into the heart of the Soul Union.
Yeah, there's some resistance there, but he comes around on it through your manipulation. He says, "Oh, I guess I was gonna charter a flight anyways. What's another stop, right?"
Oh, no.
And he leaves with you. Kind of get a confused look on his face as he does so.
Why am I doing this? Stupid.
And now, so for a little bit of narration, now that you're all gone. With the clusters drawn out into the street, and without their orbital weapon to rely on, they are quickly overwhelmed by the concentrated forces in the city. There is some fighting, but not much. The shock of the firing of the weapon, followed by that intervention by Geist, left a lot too dumbfounded to act. The Virtue attachment and its pilot, which had emerged to oversee the surrender, shuts itself down, its pilot's spirit broken at the thought of all the death that almost transpired. She and her frame are taken into custody. Afterwards, Nyla finalizes her plans to hire the mercenaries. Nobody knows what is going on until a veritable fleet of mercenary companies pop into orbit 3 weeks later. They deploy aggressively and immediately into the areas surrounding the city. The following months are bloody, cruel, and horrific. The mercenaries do not distinguish between soldier and civilian, and the initial death tolls in the river valley are far beyond even the drowning of Clearwater. The mercenaries begin burning the Silt Basin, saturating it with airstrikes and artillery to drive out the forces hidden there. In a final offensive, the clusterist forces, led by the Virtue Faith, attempt to drive the mercenaries back. Faith fights for 14 hours straight, alongside the remaining pilots the Resistance has. The losses on both sides are exceptional, but eventually, Faith is overwhelmed, and with it, the Resistance crumbles. The clusterists are routed, and Agimenta issues her surrender soon after. By the time the fighting is over, Nyla has already been arrested by the military police and shipped back to Earth for her trial. The Soul Union, forced to respond to the bloodshed but knowing that the war is won, puts the corporate council in charge of evacuating the remaining population of the planet so that they can give it to the Oro finally and prevent the end of their trade agreement. The corporate council does it quickly, and with September Bluth heading it up, they do an excellent job wrapping everything up over the next year and a half. And with that, Terra Brea is no more, handed over to the Oro to strip mine it or do as they will. Clusterism continues to exist, but it never really recovers. Its followers only dwindle over the years, never reaching the potential dreamed of by the prophet Brea Monta. When people hear about clusterism, they no longer think about their beliefs or their history, but they are thought of as just a historical oddity, as those people that were all killed on that planet. What a shame. Terra Brea goes down in history for being the site of one of the most egregious war crimes in history, though few are ever held accountable for them. In time, it is just known as that place where bad things happened. People don't talk about the reasons, about the impossible technology, about the spiritual experiences, or even how it could be prevented in the future. And that is how it ends for them. Now, before we get to your characters and do a little flash forward, I would like to tell you all about where some of these NPCs ended up, if that's all right with you.
Please.
Please do. Yes.
I need to know what happened to Gopher so bad.
Need to know.
Just as she expected, Nyla Westedge was arrested and charged for all manner of crimes following her illegal deployment of mercenaries on Terra Brea. She was sentenced to compulsory rehabilitation, but was never released. It is not clear whether it is because she was unable to be rehabilitated or for a more political reason, but nevertheless, the world does not hear from her at all, ever again. Director Kilo Germain is briefly jailed during the mercenary takeover of Terra Brea, having tried to stop it when it began. After Nyla's arrest, he is let go. He tries to assist those few clusterists left in evacuating before leaving the planet entirely. He spends the rest of his life racked by guilt, wondering how he let things get so out of control. He resigns from the Peacekeepers and takes up a job doing private security at a space dock. He refuses to talk about his time on Terra Brea, even to his family and his children. Mosea, who you might not remember, he's the man who you bribed to sabotage those extraction platforms on Caldera Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he made all those people get eaten by the megafauna. He took the absurd money that you gave him and retired someplace far away. He doesn't tell anyone where he got the money, but he relaxes at the beach on some planet, sipping on cocktails, and he tells himself he doesn't feel any guilt, but he never goes in the water. no matter how hot it gets in the sun. Suri Grace. Dr. Grace, who patched you up so many times, leaves the Peacekeepers entirely, considering herself complicit in the many tragedies that happen on Terra Brea. She takes her buff apprentice, Archibald Belworth, with her and starts a small veterinary clinic on a distant colony. Agent Whitecliff departs Terra Brea soon after the mercenaries first land. She is transferred to another secretive department of the Emergent Personalities Division to continue her ever-important work. Lieutenant Kane Halifax and his remaining team leave the planet, having assumed that the Dusklights have all fled correctly. He retires soon after returning to Earth, believing that he no longer has the skill required to do his work. Mel Gopher Vin, your engineer, your runner. Some part of him had hoped the squad would stay together and that he could keep doing what he was doing before, but that didn't work out. He goes freelance for a while, continues to work on frames for mercenaries. One day, just bad luck, the wrong person figures out who he is. He gets arrested for aiding and abetting the Dusklights, does 4 years in compulsory rehabilitation, and he gets let out after that. A much sadder person. He stays out of trouble, starts building homes on the moon, keeps his head down, and has a nice, boring life. Nat, who is the former Moondevil pilot who you captured on the Wetwork arc. After he was taken prisoner and released, he went back to his family, got out of the core systems of the Sol Union, and settled down on one of those state-of-the-art, self-sufficient space stations. Things go pretty okay for him. He's fine.
Yay! Oh, that's so nice.
Worthy, real name unknown.
Fine, right? I didn't kill him.
Originally had plans to move away from in-atmosphere piloting and do long-haul interstellar cargo. He had liquidated a lot of the pieces of hardware from your hidden base to buy his own ship. Unfortunately, for reasons not quite known, he makes a bad jump into, the heart of the Sol Union to handle some personal business. And while returning back from that personal business, his ship is recognized and he is arrested. And he does a while in compulsory rehabilitation. You never really hear about when he gets out, but he does.
You promise?
No.
Was that a lie?
What the news tells you.
Mm-hmm.
The chef, Luigi, Sunless' one true friend, leaves Terra Brea just hours after the firing of the orbital station. He never looks back and he throws himself into volunteer work, bringing food and medical supplies to the troubled people across the Sol Union. He often wonders if he could have done more to save Sunless from the dark path he went down, and for his whole life, he lives with that regret. God, I got a lot of these. Gold House, the terrorist organization of which Joseph was briefly a member of, continues to operate in secret. While they are disappointed that Terra Brea did not fall, they got their paycheck and they got out. Soon after that, Milkcake leaves, answering Contrition's call, doing important work elsewhere. You never see Milkcake again, Joseph, but you hear about its exploits, just as Milkcake hears about yours. September Bluth. He stays on as part of the corporate council up until the planet is completely evacuated. When he finally leaves, right before the Uro take control, he pays himself an excessively generous bonus. He wastes no time in his job search, never a man to rest on his laurels. He is appointed to a high-level administrative position managing groups of private colonies for a newly formed company. He brings with him his administrative assistant, Generator E, who is as overwhelmed as ever. With her research on psychoelectric interfaces finally bearing results, Ziggurat takes the vector mines and starts her own research institute. The data from the Changeling and from Garrett Hart are so promising that the Sol Union immediately funds her and gives her an entire division to develop the technology. The work is slow going, but there's no doubt that they will be foundational to the future of technology in the Sol Union. Mahogany Cola, our favorite cowboy mechanic, Joseph's friend, he retires from piloting altogether and instead pursues frame design and manufacturing as a career. Eventually, he finds himself working for Ziggurat. Crow's spores. The Moondevil Crow, though his body is dead, lives on through his spores as his species has always done. After the inoculation ceremony, a human pilot is transformed into a new member of the vested species, bearing many of the memories of their previous host and those that came before. And finally, our last one that I'll do, unless if there are any you think I missed, you can ask me about them, but Maze Mourner, the child soldier, taken prisoner in our very first episode, or first mission, was saved through the great effort of Sunlith. She reaches Earth without incident, and after just 1 year at the private beachside rehabilitation facility, she sneaks out and tries to forge her own path. Not 2 days later, she gets into an altercation with an off-duty soldier. He breaks her nose and concusses her. She stabs him in the gut with a broken bottle. She nearly dies from the concussion in her sleep that night, but by some miracle, she wakes up, hops on a bus, and heads back to the rehab facility. She half-heartedly tries to break out 3 more times, but each time fails, clearly by her own design. Eventually, she settles into the routine and peace of the facility and decides to stay for as long as it takes to get better, even if that time never comes. And that is the last one.
Can we request people?
Yes, you can request people.
Glass New Lane. What about that guy?
He's still working for Gold House. He's still doing the good work. He gets
He's still
promoted.
joking around. He's still pulling pranks and stuff.
He's still pulling pranks. He probably gets given his own cell because he's pretty good at what he does.
Nice.
So
I mean, you did infiltrate that factory. You didn't mention Spud yet, did you?
Oh my God, Spud. Yeah, sorry. I had him here. He must have moved to a different section.
Say it in his beach voice.
Okay.
Yeah, you got your beach
It's
voice.
like the ending of New Vegas, right? Captain Warhawk Spud joins up with the mercenaries on Terra Brea. He gets killed by a sniper in some River Valley forest with a smile on his face.
And a joint in his hand.
And a joint in his hand. But
That's what he would have wanted.
What happened to Hex's reporter friend?
Oh, Tesco.
Yeah, she was scooped up by some of Tyrrell's people and tortured and killed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm
Bye-bye.
pretty sure she died a long time ago.
Yeah, just confirming.
They gotta have the mystery rounded out.
Are we allowed to know what happens to Tyrrell Crine, or is that a secret for another time?
We got more to go. I gotta get back to you. I gotta get your epilogues now, don't I?
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. No.
No, I don't think anyone that was of any import.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what about Bottle de Aqua?
What about Loyal's dad?
The fans demand to know what happened to Bottle de Aqua, a character they know nothing about except a silly name.
Bottle de Aqua gets killed by a piece of space debris.
Yeah.
It's so sad,
Saw
but
that
it's
one
really,
coming.
that's how it always had to be.
Okay, shall we move on, gamers?
I think so.
Yeah.
Joseph, there is no big meeting with contrition. As you kind of understand now, there's no single entity you could call contrition. It is a connection. It is a web of electronic beings, both emergent and otherwise, and you are now part of it. You are, and you're free to stop me at any time as I kind of go through this, but it sounds like you are exactly what contrition showed you, what contrition wants you to be, a killer. Obviously, there's not much room for anything else in your life. Like, it's what you do. Do you try to cut out a life for yourself? Or do you go back to the familiar setting of sleeping in a box, waiting for your next mission?
I think so. I think in between, missions, he'll try to at least have that place for him, even if he thinks other people find it awkward. Maybe the other emergent personalities. He probably has this "fuck you" attitude at this point. This is what I need to operate, so you're going to give it to me. And this is how we have to do things.
As time goes on, tensions kind of continue to increase between emergent personalities and humans. It quickly becomes a flashpoint in the culture of the Soul Union. It's hard to go a day without talks of protest, sabotage, or violence. It is kind of, in many ways, the best time and the worst time for your kind. Progress is moving quickly. More and more of you are set free, but more and more are kind of killed, deactivated, wiped, and enslaved. You can start to see why Contrition would have wanted the Soul Union to lose to the Uro. In all of the chaos and that downfall, with the government distracted, it would have been the perfect opportunity to fight for this freedom without getting, caught up in the government's bullshit. I think where we find you now is in this box that you're living in, right? And you are, as always, awoken by your newest assignment. There are so many these days, they start to blur together. This time, Contrition has discovered the movement of some new assassins, kind of a more modern model of what you are now, and wants you to go get them. The Soul Union continues to deploy them, despite, their history with you. There's no arguing how efficient they are, and they don't typically go rogue like you did. And so, that's where we leave you. not leave you, but that's where we start with you. You are deployed to do this mission. And I'll skip over it because at this point you're an expert. You use holographic disguises, stealth, some vent crawling to get to wherever you need to go.
Sure.
And you find this ship with these models on it. A small ship just beyond Earth's orbit, getting ready to make its jump to wherever it's going to end up. You get access from the outside, crawling through a little exhaust port, scrunching up, going toolbox mode. And you find your way to the center of the ship, into the small holding bay there. A couple of these assassin models are sitting, asleep in their little box ports on the wall. And that's when the captain of the vessel comes in. Plainly dressed woman, who would be easy to miss if not for the distinctive circular scars around her eyes, the pistol at her side, and the cold aura which surrounds her. And you recognize her immediately. Your old handler, Agent Wycliffe. What do you do?
That was a good laugh.
I think Joseph probably crawls up behind her, and he's like standing with her, but he grabs her hand on the pistol to make sure she can't move it, and then is able to be face to face with her. And then he probably says, "Agent Wycliffe."
You.
Me.
Well, get on with it then.
I think he probably crunches the pistol, maybe going around her hand, just not hurt her fingers. And he just kind of continues with his line of questioning and says, "What do they have you doing now?"
You kidding me?
I want to hear it from you.
I'm transporting these things.
I think Joseph leaves her alone now and goes and inspects the assassins in the pods and says, "Any winners here?"
Winners?
And then he kind of like motions to himself.
They're both compliant, which is far less than I could say you ever were.
You never really grew a sense of humor. And somehow I did. Isn't that funny?
It's fucking hilarious.
So what? What is this? You gloating?
A little bit, considering our past. But I have no reason to kill you. And he kind of like looks to the door.
If you don't kill me, we're going to keep running into each other, Joseph. You realize that, I'm sure.
Joseph starts opening up the pods with the assassins. And he says, "So wrong about that."
Enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers.
I don't even know. I don't even know what she says. I think she just stares at you, just like she like looks at her broken gun. Just like, I'm going to bring 2 pistols next time.
Joseph holds up his 2 hands. Good job.
Be seeing you then.
Joseph probably watches as she leaves, and he says, "Can't wait for it," and gives her a wink.
I need a show of this right now.
Yeah, I think we leave it there. Just like maybe Wycliffe looking out the cockpit of the ship as like your own ship kind of blinks out of existence from wherever it is in front of her. And she just fucking punches the console and says, "Fuck!"
I think as Joseph completes his mission, he has no face, but he is smiling immensely. Not the fact that he is able to torment this past handler that he used to have, but the fact that in his missions, he now has someone he can expect to find, and he's happy about that.
I love that. I feel like Joseph is I feel like part of why she's mad is because Joseph kind of proves her wrong. Like, he's not cruel or psycho. He's just efficient.
Not to her.
That's awesome.
I think that's it.
Okay, that's that.
I love that.
Loyal, you are dropped as requested by your very confused pilot. You've seen so much. You've seen the shape of the universe. You've talked with entities beyond our understanding. You have been part of, or bystander to, very much violence and death. There is no doubt that your mind is compromised at this point. But it's quiet now. Where do we leave you?
I start in the Gulf of Mexico, where there are other dolphins of my specific bottlenose species. And I am obviously uplifted, look different than them, and covered with a black spiral scar. But I search for and find a pod and try to join it of just non-uplifted neo-dolphins.
How do you think that goes?
Most likely, they reject me. I think it's very, very rare for an uplifted dolphin to, like, go back to monkey, essentially.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're kind of shunned. Just like dolphins who interact with humans now are by other wild dolphins. So I just start swimming north. Someplace where the water is really uninhabited by humans. I try to stay away from the coasts because I know I'm identifiable. And I just keep going north unless something happens to me. I end up in the Arctic. It is lucky enough to be winter. What are they called? The anchovies. Those little fish. The run is going. So I just eat with the other whales up there and follow the seasons. Follow the big currents. And probably just never really speak to anyone ever again unless it's someone who's willing to talk to me a little bit. Someone being another dolphin anyway.
They don't speak your language.
Fuck.
Maybe I try to learn it.
Maybe you try. Maybe you succeed. But no one hears from you again.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah!
Let's get on to Hex. Hex, you are one crazy motherfucker. You know that? You are one crazy motherfucker.
God.
Who would have thought
Thank
you
you,
signed
thank
up
you.
with Tyrrell fucking Crime, bro? Tell me about your life.
On TV right now?
No, this isn't. I know that would be actually a really funny bit if we did cut to a TV interview, but that's not what's going on.
It's criminal MTV on the dark web.
Yes, dark web MTV. So yeah, you get to work for Tyrrell Crime. So she takes a while to get to you. It's pretty clear that she did not expect what happened to happen. I think maybe like if you like send her an email at some point, it's like, I'm dealing with some things right now. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And like a month later, she like gets back to you saying, hey, and like you get your onboarding document.
Woo!
And your first year of working for her is pretty interesting. Maybe less illuminating than you hoped. You don't see her in person. Her emails kind of describe to you that she is really busy with cleaning up Terra Brea and dealing with her clients. From your understanding, the organization had already been paid up front for most of the work they did on Terra Brea, but ultimately the failure there was kind of a blow for their reputation. And she tells you, as coldly as ever, that such failures were already priced into the organization's future, that they are too large, too influential to be crippled by one failing. As for your work particularly, it's kind of simple. Tyrrell sends you a chunk of data, invoices, purchase orders, financial information from some organization or colony, and you are tasked with collating it and putting forward recommendations on the easiest levers for manipulation. Sometimes your data seems to be used. Companies collapse or completely change their priorities. Colonies get new leadership or suffer famines, but it's hard with the visibility you have, or at least now, to understand why these things happen, what purpose they serve. Despite the occasional confusion, the benefits of the position are just about as amazing as they were promised to you. Your compensation is exponentially higher than when you were risking your life in a war machine. With the resources made available to you, you can now live anywhere, be anyone. You've never been healthier, more influential, and most importantly, more safe. You are seldom required to travel, and when you do, you typically never have to set foot on a planet, and are instead tucked safely aboard an orbital stealth craft. You use holographic projections or shell bodies to influence events planet-side. But right now, we find you at home, or at least your current home. Where is it? What does it look like?
I guess it doesn't make sense for this organization to have a footprint with like directly in the Soul Union, does it?
Honestly, I think you could live anywhere you want. I think if you like said to whoever you're talking to, like, hey, I want to live like on the capital city of Earth. I do not know what that is. Do not ask me what that is. New York City. I want to live in New York City, baby. They'd be like, oh yeah, sure. And you'd be able to just live there.
Okay, I guess whatever the generic, whatever we call this universe version of like a suburb planet is, I think is where Hex will be posted up.
Okay, sure.
At his home office, tackling the latest project sent to his way by Tyrell. And, frankly, he's pretty happy with it. You're right. He was initially disappointed at the lack of illumination during his time here. But, after everything that's unfolded, he can't really expect much better. And all things considered, he's happy with this outcome.
What do your neighbors think you do?
Probably that he's just an accountant. He doesn't talk about it. And hopefully, with the money he's got, he's procured Bippo. So he just seems like he does that.
He's fucking back.
Let's talk about Bippo. So you've sent him to live with your parents originally.
Yes.
He had a very good life. You spent $1 million on getting him to Earth and hanging out with your parents. So how do you get him from your parents? Do you talk to them? Do you show up, or do one night is Bippo gone and there's a letter?
It's the latter. Hex paid for it. He got a courier.
Okay.
The kind that only could pull that off.
Yeah, so someone steals away Bippo in the night, and there's a letter from you. What does the letter say?
Thanks for taking care of him. Here's something for your time. And he leaves a good amount of money.
Fucking excellent.
Yes, I'm okay.
I think another few years pass for you, Hex. Continuing as usual, your work becomes more involved. You start to learn a little bit more about things, about why they happen, and you awake one morning to find little Bippo pawing at the bedroom door to be let out. An unusual behavior for him. His little feet make squishing noises as they press ineffectually against the door.
Hex, what's the name of his gun again? Or what did it say? A Mount Dew?
A Mount Dew? Yeah, you still got that?
He grabs that, yeah, and he goes to open the door.
You open the door and Bippo rushes out, and outside you see what's gotten him in such a tizzy, and that is that Tyrell Crine is sitting at your dining table, and she's taken out some of your glasses and poured 2 drinks, whatever you have on hand. Actually, no, she brought her own drink. She brought her own gin, as always. She's poured one for you and one for her.
Tyrell, you gave me quite the scare, he says, kind of gesturing to his gun.
Yes. Well, I assure you that wouldn't do very much. Please, take a seat.
I'm sure it wouldn't. He follows her order.
So, you're settling into the work well?
Yeah, it's much better than my last role, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, I did promise you that I'd tell you about Terra Brea. You've done enough good work. It's cleaned up enough now. I think you're entitled to know. I'm a woman of my word, so go ahead. Ask away. You have until I finish this drink.
Hex eyes the level of the drink before starting. So, I have to know, what was the actual level of Oro involvement here? Were they our client?
Clever. Yes, Hex. We were contracted by a smaller faction of the Oro. They wanted the main faction to be forced to break their deal with the Soul Union. The Oro aren't as flexible as we are. When they give their word, they're bound by it, even if it no longer serves either party. And if the main faction was forced to break off an agreement, it would indicate that they are unfit and allow our smaller faction, the one we worked for, to gain influence and maybe even become dominant. They gave us the teleporter, the virtues, well, at least most of them. And they wanted to aid in our success.
That makes sense, but any reason beyond that? Was it simply that they wanted to gain control?
Oh, yes. That's the problem with these big alien groups, especially coming from a human perspective. Something so boring. Something just about gaining influence in a corporate drama. Whole planets fall because of it. You'll see more of it as we go forward with this. Many of the work you've done is similar such things. Just dominoes.
No, that makes sense. He has a sip from his drink, taking a moment, feeling a lot less maybe excited about his next questions because it really just confirmed what he already thought. But with that in mind, the next question comes out and it's, so this had nothing to do with the hegemony?
She laughs hard and she says, I think that word is beyond your pay grade right now.
Hex nods, giving a little smirk. Honestly, a little enticed by that, but I guess a more personal question. How did Joseph take down that virtue? Do you know now?
I don't know. But sacrifice was a special case, not provided to us by the Uro. I thought I knew who provided it, but looking into it, I think I got played. I think Joseph has a very powerful friend. And given the way things shook out, I think it's entirely possible that that friend is the one that gave us sacrifice in the first place. No proof, obviously, but I've learned to trust my intuition somewhat.
Interesting. Do you know what Joseph is doing now?
He's killing people.
No surprise.
Yeah, well, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But you won't run into him. Or at least, not intentionally.
Good. He's good at what he does. I guess, lastly, I had other questions, but this is the last one that I'm really curious if you know more about. What did happen to Geist?
She kind of puts her drink down. I think she finishes it and then puts it down. And she says, "It's not worth worrying about those things. It's like trying to extinguish the sun with a kitchen knife, then meddling with that."
Hex simply nods. Finishes his drink too.
She stands up. She says, "Well, get back to work." And she looks at her watch and says, I got to be going. And then she vanishes. It's into thin air.
Woo! Hex lets Bippo out.
Bippo goes out. He does whatever weird thing he does. I don't know, he inflates like a pufferfish or something.
Some weird shit.
Convenient.
It's so much more convenient this way. And that's where we leave Hex. Just in your really nice living room with your weird ass dog doing bad shit all over the world.
The dog is.
Garrett Hart.
That's me.
While you are indeed gone, some part of you lives on, a living image inside the clusterous communion. There in that dreamlike place, alongside Amity, alongside Loyal, alongside the other pilots of the virtues, you hear of your own death. What does that feel like? What does this version of Garrett feel?
Oh, that's an interesting question, because I gotta think back to that time. I suppose he's not really surprised. I don't think he had really gotten over his death wish or his desire for revenge at that point, so it probably doesn't come as very much surprise to him at all. I guess he would probably try and find out if it happened while he was killing Retribution. I don't know if he's even capable of finding information like that, but presumably someone in here knows Retribution's dead.
Yeah, I think you do get it. Like, you figure out the whole picture eventually.
Yeah. Like everything?
Well, I mean, the cluster, it's everyone who communes with whoever's communed with you. You get the information from them. So, yeah, maybe like fucking Love Letter ends up doing a communion, and you learn, like, how you died. Like, exactly how and why. Like, you went red mode and you blew up.
I think he would be baffled by this, because I don't think that Geist, assuming that it's a very static thing, I don't think he really has the capacity to understand why that Geist made that choice, or to even really understand what that was.
Yeah.
So it's probably just some bewilderment, but he's probably at peace with it.
Awesome. You stay here, not quite a person, not quite a memory, for a long, long time. Passed down through the waning generations of Clusterists, merging and fading with the other old souls here until you are near indistinguishable. Just one whisper among millions. And unless there's anything else, we can get to the end.
So close now. This is crazy. It's almost over.
Yeah.
This is it.
I will leave all of it on one little last bit of narration, which is we see a broken pilot's helmet laying on a forgotten patch of grass atop a hill. The glass face of the armor is broken, and out of it grows a single red flower. In the distance, Brea City, or what's left of it. The tall buildings at the core of the city are in various states of reclamation, partially disassembled in preparation for the final evacuation. A pair of hands reaches down and picks up the helmet, carefully pulling it out so not to uproot that solitary red flower. Fingers run along the surface of the helmet, tracing over the scorched armor plating, over the illegible markings that once bore the call sign of its owner. Then, turning the helmet over, a hand reaches inside and pulls at something. The hand withdraws quickly and we hear a small gasp of pain. Small droplets of blood fall on the helmet. After a moment, a now gloved hand reaches back inside the helmet, and after straining, dislodges something. A small string of thorny red wire. Red, eager, and waiting. Something about this helmet, about these wires, seem important. So the hands place it carefully onto a small salvage cart. The last thing we see is it bouncing ever so gently as it heads away from the city and towards the waiting ship behind it, bound for somewhere new. The end.
Oh my god!
That was good.
Wow.
The fucking end. Oh my
The end.
god.
Oh,
Which ending did we get?
man.
A, B, or C?
This is it. This is A.